rigid, and so I have the side profile and then the top profile. And what I'm going to do is scribe those onto this 1x2 poplar board, and I'll cut it out on the saw and start shaping it. One of the things I like about this board is that it's kind of a shallow dive topwater lure, and it's got a 3-wire in it, which we'll see in the process here. But it's pretty easy to side profile shaped, we're going to transfer the top profile. Now the next part is getting down to that side profile. Now I could get the saw out and cut those, but I've got a pretty coarse grit sandpaper on here, and it really only takes a couple of seconds to sand that down to the dimension I need, so I'm just going to do that. I don't quite have these ends rounded the way I want, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that here by hand, just to get it where it needs to be. Alright, and while this is still pretty much squared off, I'm going to go ahead and cut the slot down the belly for the hardware that we're going to do later on. Now I'm going to have a attachment point here in the nose, and then I'm going to have an attachment here in the center of the tail. So my cut needs to run from point to point, okay? It needs to be run down the very center of the bait. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little piece of sandpaper because it kind of sticks somewhat, and I'm going to use that as a straight edge. That's not perfect, but it gives me something to look at here. And kind of eyeball from side to side. Get the middle. just a little bit deeper than my attachment points are going to be, because remember, I need to shove a wire down in there and I don't want it to be too shallow. It's easier to fill and to kind of have a little bit of adjustment room than it is to have it too shallow and nothing you can do about it. So when I cut it, I flip my blade over and set it in the slot to make sure I've got a straight line. And I can see I got a little high point in there because it doesn't quite shoot straight through there, so I'm going to cut a little bit more. And we'll just keep sawing and checking until I've got it just where I want it, and that may be pretty close. There's a high point right in here because that's where it's rocking at, so there's just a little bit more. We're almost there. A little bit at a time. Alright, I'm happy with that. Next I need to do my chamfer lines, which is nothing more than making a mark so that I evenly round that. And so what I do is I kind of gauge it with my finger there and get a good distance, and then I hold my pencil there and I just do that same mark everywhere without moving my finger. Okay, now I've got them all done. Okay, I'm going to start with some 80 grit sandpaper and round those corners out. See how I've sanded that down to the pencil marks? And that's what I'm going to do around the whole thing. Once I do that, I'm going to run my paper like this to round it even more. Now you could take a knife if you wanted to and whittle that part off. It's a personal preference. I don't feel like, as little as I'm taking off, I don't feel like sanding it or carving it. I don't think one way is faster or better than the other. They seem to be about the same. But once I've got that rounded, and then I'll come back over it with a 180 grit sandpaper and get it just a little bit smoother. I'm going to go over the whole thing and finish that out, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what we're doing here. Alright, now I've gone over the entire lure and rounded all the edges. Once again, I'm going to use a template. Lay over my design here. I'm going to mark the eye, and I'm also going to mark my lateral line. And once I've done that on both sides, I'm using a 1/4 inch Forstner bit. And then to carve the lateral line, I'm using this just small hand chisel. It's the V-groove. Next we need to make the hardware, and because I've made a few of these, I know that I need 16 inches of wire. I made myself a wire bending jig here. So I'm going to start right here. Alright, that gets me the basic shape, and then what I'll do is I'll spend some time with my pliers, making that look a little bit prettier. After just a couple of minutes of bending and rebending, and I've got this wire reasonably straight, and it's just gonna epoxy right into that lure, just so, and I've got some flexibility in there where I can adjust and get it centered up just the way I want it. So I've used another template I've got to trace the gill pattern on, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and I'm going to carve straight down, tracing the line, and then I'll carve to the line. It doesn't have to be perfect. Part of the reason I want it so deep is that I'm going to be putting lots of coats of paint on this, and then I'm going to be putting epoxy on this, and it kind of gets filled up. So the deeper you can make it, the more it'll show up through all of that. Now we're going to embed the hardware into the lure. I'm going to put some tape. You don't have to do this, but for me, I like to do it because it keeps the rest of the lure from getting big, huge drips on it. We're going to embed that with some 30-minute epoxy. What I've got here is a 1/8 inch thick piece of Lexan polycarbonate, and I've marked my diving lip using a template that I've got onto that sheet. If you look here, I've got a notch. The reason I've got that notch is I've got the through wire interferes with that lip, so we'll cut that notch so that it'll fit in. We'll see how that fits later. What I'm going to do right now is cut this out. What you'll see is that I did not cut all the way to the line. I left myself a little bit of space. Next, I'm going to sand it to the line. We're going to take a piece of very, very fine sandpaper, 320 grit. We're going to lay it on this flat surface. And what we're going to do is we're going to sand the edges of this Lexan smooth. So I'm holding it at a 90-degree angle, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep sanding until all those little grooves are gone. What you should wind up with is a smooth, frosted edge. Yeah, like that. Alright, once that's cured, what I gotta do is come back to the head here. And I've got to clean out this pocket around the mouth so that my diving lip will fit in there. And to do that, I've got this bit on my rotary tool. It's just kind of a burr, a straight burr. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean that out all the way to the wire. So you can see I've cleared it out, and then right in there, down the center line, you can see the wire. There. So that's why the notch in the diving lip here, and now that should just fit right in there perfectly. While I've still got the plastic on the Lexan, the protective sheet, I'm going to dry fit the lip, and then I'm going to mark the edge of the mouth here on that outer sheet. I'm going to take my X-Acto and I'm going to cut a little bit inside of that, just very lightly, to get that sheet off. Okay. And then I'm going to take some pretty heavy grit sandpaper and I'm going to rough that up right there. Basically what that's going to help me do is get a good adhesion with my epoxy when I put that lip in. But I want to be real careful not to scratch the rest of it. Alright, now I can peel off the rest. I'm going to go ahead and put some blue tape over the end of it here. Just because I'm going to grab that piece a lot, and I don't want to mar it up too bad. So I'm going to set this aside. And then once I've sealed it and I've sanded it down and I've got it all smooth, then we'll insert the lip. Again, I like to build this up in layers, in thinner layers, so that I get glue in there. If you just fill it all the way to the brim with the baking soda, what it'll do is it'll create a shell, and then you'll have all that powder on the inside. Whether that's good or bad, I'm not really sure, but I'd prefer to have a nice solid fill. Alright, now we can peel our tape off. Again, this is one of those steps where you don't have to have the tape, because we are going to put super glue over the entire thing here in just a second, but what I don't want is a bunch of uneven buildup across there. So this controls that. That way when I seal it with my super glue, I'm getting one nice even coat instead of, too much buildup in the gill area and in the detailed carving areas. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the head here. I'll come back to you once I've coated the entire thing. Once you've gone over the whole thing with your fine sandpaper, it's a good tool to have one of these little small file sets, and I'm going to use this one to kind of sharpen up some of the details that might have gotten filled in with some glue there, particularly around the gills. Let's sort of sharpen that edge up right there. Those fine corners are the ones that fill up with glue. There. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sharp edge of this and I'm going to clean out this groove. Now that we've got that done, we can insert the lip. Okay, I'm going to make sure that that's in completely straight, and then I'm going to let it cure. Once that's done, it's going to be off to weight and balance. Now that I've got the lure sealed, what I need to do is add weight to it. And in order to figure out the exact placement of that weight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these little rounds that I've made to the bottom, and that will give me the precise location and amount of weight that I'll need for it to sit properly in the water. I have taken a scrap piece of wood and drilled 3/8 inch holes in it at varying depths, and then I've poured these lead rounds in it, and that gives me a good variety to choose from for figuring out how to balance this lure. And of course I'll hang the hooks on it and everything so that the weight is accurate. We're going to need a couple of pretty good sized pieces. I'm going to start with these two, and I'm going to put them on either side of this bottom attachment point here. Let that cool a second, and then we'll hang our hooks off of it, and we'll put it in the water and see how it does. Okay, that's too much. That's way too much. The great thing about this method is that you can just pop these off and try again. So I'm going to go with 2 smaller weights. Still pretty heavy in the back. Yeah, let's just take this back one off. a lot better. I think I need to move that weight forward a bit, just a little bit. I'm actually pretty surprised at how little weight this thing's taking, but these hooks are so big. Right there. Yeah, that's perfect. That's right where I want it. Okay, I was about to drill the holes for the lead, and I had a thought. I didn't account for the full depth of this bigger weight. Require a hole so deep that it would actually hit the hardware that's embedded inside. What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically do 2 shallower holes and 2 little shots of lead. That'll keep me from hitting that wire. Alright, now let's fill that in. Okay, now all I gotta do is sand that smooth and it'll be ready to paint. I don't know if you can, I don't know if the camera picks that up very well, but that pearlized white kind of reminds me of the belly of a fish. If you ever flip one over and look at it, it's kind of got a little bit of a pearlized quality to it. Next I'm going to take a iridescent blue and I'm going to thin it down. Subtle scale pattern. So I've got this basically tool material. out of it. What I've got in here now is a pearl white, and I want to do that down the side, and that'll give it a real subtle scale pattern. Alright, next step, iridescent green, right down the back. I made a quick stencil here, and basically you could use a comb if you had one laying around, that would work, but I don't really have one laying around, so I just cut some paper into the shape I want, and this is basically going to be my stripes, my stripe pattern down this back half. And I'm going to use an opaque black, but I'm going to go very, very, very light. There we go. It's best to just go in thin layers until you get the right darkness. That'll do it. Okay, I've got this glitter variety pack. For this particular lure, I'm wanting to use this kind of greenish and goldish just along the back to help bring out that green gold color. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out a pinch of that. for time's sake, I edited this down. But when you get down to the last little bit of epoxy, you want to mix your glitter in with it and brush that just along the backside. Started to set up on me a little too fast, and I think I've got it saved with the hairdryer a little bit. I may have to do a little bit more brushing to get it there. No way. No way. Oh, you are kidding me. Oh, it broke off. I gotta find that. I can't just let that go. So, I lost this frog popper. The same place I lost that 7-inch minnow. Boat is right now, and drifted all the way over here. Looking around, and I see the 7-inch minnow. Looky there. See you. Dang. So, glad I didn't lose that.